Hello and welcome to House of Cult. My name is Alessandro, and with me is Ariel Salsa, owner and founder of the Pretty Cult. And today joining us is our very good friend Lexi Layne, who is an incredible metal, rock, all of the above, really, singer-songwriter based here in Los Angeles. Has released some absolutely incredible new singles and is just about to release her brand new single, The Devil, which we will be getting into as well. And just thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, Lexi. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here with both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I there's obviously so much we need to unpack about the new single, but we always like to kind of go back in time a bit, and ask questions about, where the journey initially first started, as a musician, a singer, a songwriter, everything with that. And what I'm really curious about, because, obviously, we're all friends here, but,
Yeah.
I really want to know specifically, where you sort of grew up and what was sort of like the first music that impacted you at that early age, like first discovering music. And, what was that sort of like? And then leading into sort of you discovering your own voice and some of the first bands that had an impact on you and shaped your sound.
Yeah, well, I grew up in South Florida. I was born in Jersey, lived in New York for a little bit, but my upbringing was in South Florida. And I got into musical theater at a very young age. I was around like 5, 6, and I just loved being on the stage. Like that was my happy place. But I didn't really know that I could sing until probably like age 9 when I got casted in my first lead. I was actually really scared to sing in front of people. I didn't know if I was good or if I was doing it correctly. But musical theater was such a massive part of, I think, who I am today and how I perform today in so many ways. Growing up, I loved all like the big powerhouse vocals. I was a big fan of like Pat Benatar and Christina Aguilera and Shaka Khan. Like I just kind of dove into so many different avenues where I felt my voice could kind of soar with those vocals, and listening to those women in music. And I think it really wasn't until I heard like Evanescence, like Amy Lee was such a massive impact of on me starting music and wanting to write my own music. And then of course like Flyleaf and Paramore and it just, the list goes on. But I feel like that musical theater background is really what molded me to kind of be who I am today as a singer, a performer.
I love that you bring that up too, because that was sort of, in my notes to discuss with you is about your voice. It does soar, and I do hear those elements of like you said, like a little bit of Christina Aguilera, a little bit of Shaka Khan, like which is so awesome to incorporate into metal and hard rock, and it's really interesting. Like when you first like discovered that voice, like what did that sort of feel like? Because you obviously can emote so much with your voice, and you can also put this grit behind your vocals too. And it does, the theater background also makes sense a lot too, because you really project with your vocals as well too. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I feel like getting on stage for me, like during a performance, it's like showtime. Like growing up in musical theater and performing on a really big size stage as a young girl, like it was this is it. You're either going to do it or you're going to screw up. So it's like click mode for me. And I really try to implement that in all of my music as well. If I'm singing about something sad, I need to channel that. I can't just be like, okay, I'm happy today and we're going to do a sad song. Like, no, I need to get into that moment, kind of like, again, like an actor does.
Yeah, that was another thing I wanted to touch on is the vulnerability of your music, which we'll obviously touch on more when we get into the new song, The Devil. But, do you find that being vulnerable with your music comes naturally? And, you mentioned having to sort of be a method actor and get into the role sort of to embody that. You know, does it feel cathartic once you do get that release, so to speak, when you are writing and, emoting that with your music?
Yeah, it's extremely cathartic for me. I think the older I get, being more vulnerable comes easily, whereas being younger and trying to like fight for this spot, especially like women in metal, they're making such a massive impact right now, which I think is so amazing. And I literally support like every woman in metal right now because it's so important. But it's putting that front on of, oh, I have to be strong. But yeah, like seeing as I've kind of found my place now and I found my voice and my happy spot, I think being vulnerable is really important. And I think showing vulnerability equals being really strong.
Feels like too, well, I think we should just get into the new song because this is, I would say, probably, and I don't know if you correct me if I'm wrong, but probably the most vulnerable and deep song you have released so far. It's touching on a lot of trauma, family related issues,
Mhm.
and really addressing, sort of the inner child, and the trauma that comes from, those moments, then also finding empowerment through it. So I really would love to sort of walk through this song in particular and kind of the backstory and what it was like actually, opening up essentially your diary and opening up, listeners to this moment in your life.
Yeah, no, you hit it right on the nail. This is definitely the most vulnerable song I've ever written. It definitely hits something very different in me. It hits my inner child. And I think doing this song, The Devil, about my father was such a healing experience for me. Working with my producer, Kevin McCombs, working on all the songs on the EP, we came across the devil, the tarot card, the devil, and I was like, this has to be about my father. There's something I need to release here. And also, I'm such a big believer of relating your music with your fans. Like, I want everybody to listen to my music and really be like, oh wow, I felt that, and I put my own story to it. And now that hits me even harder listening to Lexi Layne's music. um, but yeah, I wanted to create this really dark world. I wanted it to feel extremely uncomfortable because the upbringing with my father was very uncomfortable, and there was a lot of manipulation and a lot of greed and money and gifts kind of thrown my way to shut me up. And I feel like in the end of the song or throughout the chorus, like you feel the strength coming through from me, where I start a lot smaller, and the music video really tells the story so well too. It's just this little girl, she's on this journey and she's just trying to find her way and get out of this really, really dark time that she has been in. And I feel like I didn't realize the real negative pattern with my father and I until I was probably around like 27, 28. And then it kind of just hit me. And also with the song, it's showing, just because family is family doesn't mean that it's good. Doesn't
Yeah,
mean that a family member has your best interest just because they're blood. And I think that's where a lot of my guilt came in for so long. I'm like, oh, this is my father. Like, I wouldn't be here without him. Maybe I should be in a different mindset. But when something clicks in you and you're like, no, this doesn't feel good, this isn't resonating with me, I think the message is also to like follow your intuition and always do what is best for you at the end of the day.
absolutely.
Yeah, I have been waiting for this podcast. Well, for many reasons, because I love Lexi and I think she is an incredible artist that everyone needs to know about. But besides that, Lexi sent us The Devil ahead of time to listen to it. And I did share with her that it gave me chills. But what I did not share with her, and I am getting a little choked up just thinking about it, I was listening to it while I was in the gym, which Lexi would be very proud of me for being in the gym.
Yes, yes, queen.
And I actually it was not embarrassing because I was in public, but a little bit of like, oh my God, I'm at the gym. And I was listening to it. And I think I had heard this song before, but I was listening to it again and it had my full and utter attention because I was at the gym. And I became very overwhelmed with sadness, not in a negative way, but because the song for me resonated and hit a piece of trauma for me. And I think that's why even right now I'm like, I can feel that feeling again, because this song is so deep. And I think this song is an anthem for anyone with childhood trauma specifically. Mine is religious trauma. And I think it's hilarious and so well fitting that it is the devil card. And for me, it was religious trauma and your vocals and everything in the song, from the musicality to your vocals to Chaney, which we'll get to. It's so powerful. And I feel like when you mentioned earlier about you want people to feel your emotion, I have felt that in every single one of your songs. I felt it in The Tower. I felt it in The Serpent. I felt it in High Priestess. But there is something about this that like opened a wound for me. And I was like, damn. Like I had to I wanted to text you, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to save this moment and share it with her on the podcast, because I was like, I'm literally on the elliptical and I feel like I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
Because I just had this between your vocals, and there's a specific line, and I just was like, I feel in a healing way, but something within me was kind of opened, and clearly that needed to be opened. And
Yeah.
your lyrics and your music did that for me. And I think I wanted to share that with you, because I think that there's no greater power for an artist than to be able to move people like that. And this song did that for me. And everyone needs to hear this song.
Well,
Everyone.
I'm so happy you did not text me
Yeah.
about that moment, because literally it goes back to everything I just said. Like, you just describing how you're just in the gym and that just hit you like a ton of bricks. That is how I want it to feel. And again, it's not that I'm trying to hurt people or give people anxiety.
No.
I
No,
think
of
it
course.
really, yeah, I think it really is for the ones that have really dealt with hardships of childhood trauma. They will relate with that. And your reaction, Ariel, just confirmed I'm right in the bag.
This is the anthem for anyone that has any sort of childhood trauma. This song is going to resonate for you, and in a healing way. Yes,
Mhm.
to come out of trauma, you have to sometimes you have to feel the uncomfortable emotions, but it's healing at the end. And that's what this song, in a way, for me, and while I am still on my healing journey, as many of us are and will be for the rest of our lives,
Correct.
this song is just a tool, in that. For me, I'm all about tools within a healing journey. And I feel like this song will be in my arsenal when I need to feel powerful over that trauma, or I have someone who's sharing their trauma with me, and I'm going to be like, I have a song for you that is going to make you feel powerful, and you are going to dominate over this trauma. And that's what this song is. And we're very big on mental health, and I feel like, Alessandro, we bring it up almost every episode with an artist in some way, shape, or form. And
Yes.
Alessandro and I are very vocal about our own being in therapy and things like that. And
Yeah.
I love this song. I love the tarot aspects. I love all your music. I love you. But just having this added
I love you.
element is just so, so special. And I'm so excited for you to share it with the world.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say I just want to gas up Lexi's tires a little bit more.
Yeah,
I
do it.
heard this song live at your show, at the Constellation Room, I believe is where
Yeah.
it was at.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I remember when the chorus first hit, and I think it was your bass player. He looked so
Yeah.
scary up there, screaming the devil part.
Yeah.
And I looked over at Rachel and Ariel, and I was like, "Oh, this fucking hits." And then Ariel's like, "Yeah, it's not out yet." I was like, "Oh, this is sick." And then when she sent me the song, I was like, I love how my response is like, "This is sick, Ariel,"
Yeah.
because it's her about thing. But it's like when she sent over the song, I was like, "Oh, that's the one that I loved live. That's so sick. It's coming out. This is awesome." it hits very hard. I mean, just from a sonic perspective, that chorus, and that's a big thing with your music. Your melodies and your hooks really are, and I use this word all the time, but I mean it sincerely. They're earworms. Like they are very infectious. Like I will find myself, doing the dishes and I'll be singing a little bit of the Tower.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's very effective. And the Devil's really interesting because it's probably your least melodic chorus, yet
Mhm.
it's still very infectious and catchy. And that's a tough thing to do a lot of times, I feel like, with music and to make aggression so catchy. And so that's really cool that you're able to do that with this song.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely, me and Kevin, my producer, who is also my bass player, who you saw that night.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my producer and also my bass player as well. Yeah, we try to keep like a rhythmic flow, like we call it like the Lexi Layne pocket, but we definitely felt like the devil was a little bit out of the pocket. But I think that's necessary as an artist. Like you should try different avenues and different styles because that's going to get people's ears going like, oh, well, I love her, but this is a little different. I kind of like it. Or maybe you don't like it, and that's also okay. But I think it's good to explore different avenues, and that's what we wanted to do with The Devil. We wanted people to be like, oh shit, this is sick and this is really different, you know?
Absolutely. And I really want to touch on, the fact that also this song features Chaney Crabb of Entheos, which is
Yes.
super awesome. What
Yeah.
was sort of your thought process behind, getting Chaney on the track and sort of what would you feel like she brought to the table specifically with this track?
So when Kevin and I sat down and we started The Devil, we knew that we wanted a female screamer vocalist on this. I feel like a lot of my music is very women empowerment, very female based. That's kind of how the first EP is. And he's like, "Oh, I got someone perfect." He showed me Chaney, and I was like, "Dude, there's no way we're gonna get her. How the hell are we gonna get her?" And this was probably a good like year and a half ago. And he's like, well, I've worked with her before. I did a project with her. Like, when we're ready, when we have a demo, let's submit it. And it was literally just so random. She posted something on her story like, I'm doing features. I'm only posting this once. If you see it, that's it. If you respond to this, you may have a chance. So I sent it to Kevin and he's like, just do it. We'll figure it out. I'm like, all right, because the demo that we really wanted to send her wasn't completely done yet. It was more of like a scratch version. So in my head, I'm like, shit, I don't know if she's gonna bite, whatever. So I emailed her. She's literally the sweetest person. Responded back to me within like 24 hours, and she's like, "This is sick. I'm down to hop on." And I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" Because when me and Kevin originally started this song, like I said, like we really wanted her. We just didn't know how it would happen.
Mhm.
And we sent her, stems. She recorded it, and what she brought to the table, like I was just mind blown. I mean, she's incredible. Everything I've heard her do is just freaking insane. But hearing that kind of vocalist on like your own song, it kind of like hits different, because you're like, oh, this is my song. It was just so great to work with her. What she did was great. We gave her some freedom too with, how she wants to do certain things, especially like that bridge area. We told her just do your thing. Like I never want to tell an artist how to be an artist. I'll give like sketch lines, but I really want an artist, especially as a feature, to put their own oomph and like pizzazz on it, and that's exactly what she did.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely feels like a match made in heaven for this track for sure. Like brings such a cool element to it. And that's so cool that she was super, super down to jump on it like that quick and everything like that. Because I think we all know with like features, sometimes it can be a very long process. And the fact that it was so streamlined like that is like, God, I wish it was like that for everything.
I know, right? That's why I was so surprised too. I'm like, she's not gonna write us back. And then 24 hours later, yeah, I'm down. Let me hop on, send me the stems. I'm like, okay, great.
I have an embarrassing story. So obviously my day job, I work for Pale Chord Records and our like biggest artist on the label is Spirit Box, obviously, and flagship artist. And in 2020, I cold emailed Courtney and Spirit Box to feature on my band's song.
Oh my God.
Did not get a response.
You tried. You
No.
tried. That's all that
It was
matters.
a terrible. It
I
was a
never
terrible
even knew
song.
this.
Yeah.
What?
And I've told some people this, but yeah, it's pretty. It was a really bad song too, and I'm so like this is like right before they blew up, and
Oh God.
yeah, so that's I just feel like I had to share that.
No, I thank you for sharing that. But it also like goes back to like if you don't ask, you don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, never hurts to try. The worst
You
they can say
know,
is no.
or you get no response and your ego's a little bruised, but at least you tried.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, we should just. I want to ask, what are some other dream collaborations? Because, like you said, you might as well try. You know what I'm saying? So, like, who are some of
Um,
those dream collabs?
well, since we're on the topic of Spirit Box, definitely Courtney. She's just out of this world, insane. Love her, love the band, love the new record. Tati from Ginger, Amy Lee from Evanescence. Um, my God, when your brain goes to mush because you're just thinking of so many people. We'll
Yeah,
just leave it at that for the moment. But
the big
there are
three.
a lot of features that I would love to do or have or collab in, some way or another.
You know who I think would be a really cool collab with Lexi, who just came on the podcast, is Casey from Deadlands.
Oh yeah, that would be
I could
dope.
see a cool Lexi Layne and Deadlands
Definitely.
collab could be cool. I don't
That'd be
I
know.
would
really
love
cool.
that.
And I would be like, yay, two of my podcast friends collabing. Pretty cool. I'd be so
Yeah,
stoked.
Yes.
shout out Casey. Amazing,
Yes.
amazing, amazing vocalist, awesome person.
Yeah,
Listen to the
she's
episode
very,
if you
very
haven't.
sweet as well. Yep, listen to that episode.
No, that would be super cool.
Yeah, I'd
And
be down for that. 100%. She's crazy insane too. Every like female right now in the metal scene is just killing it. And we're all really making a statement and that's what I love.
it's such an incredible thing to witness, and it's so important. And it really feels like everything in metal right now that is exciting me is female-led metal right now.
Yeah.
100%, and it's like, the Courtneys, the Casey from Deadlands, like so many incredible, incredible vocalists. And even not even just vocalists, Samantha Mobley from Frozen Soul, like
Yep.
people are absolutely killing it right now. And it's so
Yeah.
great to see that we're getting out of this, metal is for bearded dudes who drink beer. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
which it never should have been, and it's never going to be that again. And that's a great
Yeah.
thing. So,
It's good. We're
absolutely.
all growing.
We
Yeah.
are, yes. You mentioned the Devil music video. I kind of want to talk about, some of your other videos as well, because your video, well, I know Lexi is a very DIY artist.
Mhm.
Everything is her and her producer. But really, when it comes to videos and everything, it's her. And your stuff is so high production. It looks cinematic,
Mhm.
honestly. Um, what kind of, what kind of is your process with that, even like with your content? Because you obviously post cover videos as well as your own music. Just kind of like walk us through kind of the process, A, for the music videos, and then kind of to how you, because that's something we have talked to other artists, especially female artists on this podcast with about, the importance of social media and not being afraid to like make those videos and do those things. And you're really good at that. So I would love to just like know more about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll start about the social media first. Social media, it's important. It's not what it used to be. That is your marketing tool. I feel like people back in the day, it was like press kit this and CDs this. No, it is all social media. It's all about your following. And I mean, like, I burn out all the time from it. It's hard. It's not easy. It's literally another job. But what I've started doing recently within the past like month or two, a friend of mine, we get together and we just film each other's content and we we make a list so everything's organized and we check that list off as we go. And I just try to think about like what is trending right now, but also like what I want my fans and new fans that don't know who I am to see. So sometimes I will do videos where it's like, "Hi, I'm Lexi Layne going through a hard time. Listen to the tower," and people will be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is cool. I've never heard of you before." So I think it's really just pushing out your brand, pushing out what you want other people to perceive you as and to see, and then like trying new things too. Like, yes, I'm an artist and I'm a vocalist, but I'm also a really funny person, and like I don't take life too seriously all the time. So sometimes acting like, a silly goose on social media, some people want to see that you're also just a real person. You're not just this figure. So I think that's really important as well, but consistency is everything with social media. I've learned that for sure.
Yes.
I'm kind of
Yes.
curious, just jumping off that, with your consistency, and you strike me as a extremely consistent person across all avenues. Like you're very dedicated to your gym life as well too, and like
She's a Virgo.
I was just gonna say I'm a
okay,
Virgo.
okay, well there we
Alessandro,
go.
She's a
you
Virgo.
already know how that goes, Alessandro. Come on.
Uh-oh.
I'm a Virgo.
So exactly. So I mean, like I was gonna ask sort of where that work ethic and consistency comes from, but you just answered it right there because you're a Virgo, and every
I'm
Virgo I swear is like this, and it's
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a Virgo, but also I think that's a big part of it. But also like growing up, realizing like nothing gets done unless I do it.
Mhm.
That has been like drilled in my brain for years. So I'm very hard on myself. I'm very hardworking, particular. Again, I'm just describing a Virgo. But yeah, it's like if no one's gonna do it, it's not gonna get done. Like I have to do it myself. And I think that's where that consistency comes from, especially because like, Lexi Layne like is a band, but it's not. Like, I have my guys that I deal with, I've been dealing with for years, but at the end of the day, it falls on me. So I have to be the one that's pushing everything out and making things happen all times.
No,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
I will say too, gassing up Lexi some more. Besides being a Virgo, there's also Lexi and I have had this conversation about her band stuff and then my work with Pretty Cult. One of my favorite things about Lexi is she doesn't have any ego in terms of being an artist and not being afraid of hard work. Um, I feel like many artists today just want to be an artist. And as much as we would all love to be that, that's not the way the world is anymore. As much as I would love to just sit here and design clothes all day, that's not the world. That is a small portion of my business out of the pie, and with Lexi, she really treats her band and her artist project as a business. And I think that's the smartest thing to do. And it's very evident in your work ethic. And you never expect anything to be handed to you. And you always, like, I have to grind to get where I want. And I think that makes, that among many things makes you stand out among many other artists because you do have to work hard, and no matter what you do in life, no one owes you anything,
No.
and you need to put yourself out there and you need to work hard and you need to respect people, and also, give and receive, and you're very good about that. And I think that's one thing too that really goes into, at least what I've seen from my end, your work ethic. You don't expect anything to be handed to you. You're always available. You respond to emails. You're very professional when it comes to the music stuff, and you treat it like a business, which it's very evident. And we love working with artists like that, don't we, Alessandro?
Thank you.
Yes, we do. We do love working with artists like that for sure.
Thanks, Ariel, for gassing me up more.
Anytime.
Yes.
It's a big old gas station here at this point.
I love it. I love it.
But touching on like Ariel was bringing up like the videos, like the background on sort of how you sort of come up with creative for those videos, because you do have such a distinct story that you are telling through these videos and what you're representing aesthetically as well.
Yeah, I feel like I've always been a very visual person. Always. I can, hear something and then automatically see it in my head. Like it just happens. So that's how a lot of it happens with my own music. Even before, even just like a song title, the Tower. I'll use the Tower an example because that was the hardest music video I've ever done. 2 days, both 24-hour shoots overnight, was insane. But I'm very specific. I'm very particular, and I'll listen and I'll jot down notes in my phone while I'm listening to my song and, kind of have this storyline. I'll just create a storyline if the song calls for a storyline, which a lot of my music does because I like to tell a story so people can really listen and listen, but also they're watching the visuals and it just clicks. It makes sense. Um, and with the Tower, I had a very specific storyline, and thank God I've been able to work with amazing makeup artists and videographers and directors that have just become my really good friends. And they just want to help. They just want to be part of the project, which is also just so nice. And they're usually just all on board, and we'll sit and have meetings. And it's like, all right, how can we create this? But we're on a budget, but like we need to make it look high end. And again, I've been really grateful and I feel like blessed over the past music videos I've done where everything, like Ariel says, does look really high end,
Yeah.
but a lot of it is DIY. All of it is.
Yeah. That's
you
awesome.
know? Yeah, yeah. So I can't complain. Like also like being a perfectionist, I won't put anything out that does not look high end. I won't do it. There was a scene that we were supposed to do in the Tower. I remember it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. We already were there from 7 o'clock at night, and it was the last scene, and it just didn't work. And we spent 2.5 hours painting my whole body. I was supposed to be like this demon thing, and I saw it on camera, and I was like, nope, I don't care that we just spent 2 hours. This looks like shit. We're not using it. And we just scrapped it and we just made the music video work how we did. And when there's a will, there's a way. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I feel like there's such a great thing that happens when you can create really high fidelity art on a budget. Like, I mean, that extends beyond even music videos. Like my favorite movie of all time is the movie 28 Days Later. And that film was recorded super DIY, like on like shitty DSLR cameras in like the early 2000s, yet it
mhm.
looks super high end and it's had this huge impact. And I feel like that's so cool that you found a way to sort of adapt using the mediums and the technology we have today. And, obviously gone are the days of, 50 to $100,000 music video budgets, which they were even
Insane.
higher. They were even higher, honestly, in probably the 90s and early 2000s, which is
Yeah.
insane to think about, Nowadays, like it's I don't even that's I couldn't even imagine somebody paying $200,000 to make a music video anymore.
It's crazy. And like again, being a new artist, like I don't have that right now. Like I gotta just make it work somehow and people be like, wow, this looks great. And I'm like, yeah, it was small budget, but it looks great. So whatever, win-win.
No, it's awesome. It's super cool.
It also
And
just goes to show that you don't need all this money to do something cool.
yeah,
You don't.
If you have the vision, you work hard, surround yourself with a good team. You don't need the thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, we do that here with Pretty Cult too. Some of our like best shoots or some of my favorite shoots have just been like in a park. And then, shout out to Maya and her incredible editing skills. But her and I have a vision and we get it as close to it as we can. And then we work on it together in post or whatever. And yeah, you don't need thousands of dollars to do good art. And like people, I guess that's also kind of a message too, is like, don't not do something because you don't feel like you have the funds. Where there's a mean, what is that saying?
if there's a
There's a
will,
will,
there's
there's
a
a
way.
way.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
what I
you.
was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can do something really cool if you just really put your heart into it and, practice your craft for sure. That's one thing. I look at some photos I've posted way back when Pretty Cult first started, and I'm like, woof, that would never fly today. But I had to start somewhere,
Yeah.
and I
Correct.
had to learn, and I got better, and I got better, and I got better. So, yeah, I love your music videos. I think they look like they're thousands of dollar budget, like
Thank
status,
you.
and I'm always shocked. I mean, I know, and that you're like, nope, it's just me and my team, and
Yeah.
on the smallest budget possible. And I'm like, well, it doesn't look like it. So you are doing it right.
Yeah, I think that's so important too, is like what you just said, like, oh, you have your team. Like building a team that these people have your best interests and they really want to see you succeed. I think like this is for any artists that are starting out. It is so important that you have people next to you that want to see you soar and be as successful as you can in this business. Because it does take a village. It does. Again, you can do everything very budget friendly, but having those people in your corner that are rooting for you, that really helps a lot when you're doing it all by yourself. You need that.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yes. I can also attest to that. Yes. I also think uh it's a lot about energy too, which I feel like also kind of goes into the witchcraft and tarot theme of this episode. But like I also feel that energy, if you are a good person and have good energy, you are also going to attract those who are on your same wavelength. Um,
100%.
hopefully. In my own experience, I've had some people sadly use that to their advantage, but for the most part, if you are conducting yourself in a certain way, people are going to be attracted to that energy. And I also feel you and I are both similar in this way, where we do have our people but we are also very loyal to those people. And as much as they help us, we will also bend over backwards in any way we can to help them with their pursuits, their dreams, and whatnot, or recommending them for things. Like in any way we can help those who help us, we absolutely try and help them. And I think it's so important. And that really comes down to energy as a person, and what you are putting out, you are going to get back.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. And yeah, loyalty is like I feel like the greatest currency in this industry that we're all in. Loyalty
Oh,
is everything in this industry,
Hmm.
you know.
Especially being in Los Angeles. I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
we're in
Yeah.
the shit of it, like
Yeah. Like you gotta keep, you gotta have that core group and you gotta stay loyal and honest with each other because there are always gonna be those vultures that are coming to just fucking swoop in and
I know. I'm
uh
an Aquarius, so loyalty is my top three. And sometimes it is to my own detriment, but thanks to therapy, I am learning that.
thank you, therapy.
shouts
Yeah.
out therapy. Thanks to
Yes,
BetterHelp,
again.
our sponsors for this
Yeah.
episode. They're
If
not.
only.
Totally.
But I would love, because we are obviously both practicing witches, to step back a little bit. And I don't think I've ever asked you this, even as a friend, what kind of made you decide to kind of make an EP? And I don't want to say based around tarot cards because that's not entirely true, but very heavily influenced by tarot cards. I don't think I've ever asked you that.
Yeah, I don't think
And
you have.
yeah, when did that concept come? Did you always know you wanted to do that? Did it just happen? Like, what happened there?
It wasn't something I always knew I wanted to do. I mean, I've always been into tarot. Growing up, my mom is extremely spiritual and she raised me very spiritual. We had a lot of psychic mediums around us. My mom is a practicing witch. If yeah, I guess I can say that totally. She's taught me a lot of what I do today with meditation and connecting with higher power. And again, it's a lot of who I am today is because of her. My mom is like my best friend and I love her. So shout out, mom, I love you. But the whole tarot theme, it's probably been around 2.5 years since me and Kevin started this idea. And I always do like a weekly read for myself at the beginning of the week, and I do a monthly read. And I always just notice like sitting and connecting with myself and like higher power using tarot cards has always just really grounded me. And I always find so much of my strength through just meditation and sitting with myself. And I just had these ideas. I had like, I think like Two of Swords was a song idea of mine. Serpent, but obviously that doesn't relate to a tarot. Well, it could relate to a tarot card, but it's not a tarot card. But the High
Right.
Priestess, I was relating with that card a lot. And I just sat with Kevin one day, and I think it was very mutual the way we said it. We were both just like, why don't we just do these EPs based around tarot? Like, we can do some that aren't names of tarot directly, but I think that would be such a cool idea. And it kind of stemmed from there. And there's been a lot of healing for me with every song I've released so far, and the new music that we are working on that is still tarot based. It's a lot of healing, and it's helping me grow and again just like become the woman that I want to be. And we'll just kind of see where it takes me.
Yeah, did you have obviously because one of the songs is the tower? Did you have a tower moment and you were like, I need to write this song and this is going to be therapeutic? Like how did the tower come into this tarot rotation?
So yeah, I 2020 was a really hard year for me. It was probably the worst year I've ever had in my entire life, but those bad circumstances really helped me grow. And that whole thing was my tower moment. But what happened was originally, before I met Kevin, I started this song called The Vortex, which was based off I don't know if it was like a sleep paralysis something, but I had this nightmare where I was sinking into my bed and there was this like massive demon staring at me, and I just kept going in and into this dark hole. So originally that is how technically the tower started. It was called The Vortex. I started with a different producer and it just wasn't coming out the way that I wanted to. It didn't work. And then when I started working with Kevin, I showed him my idea, and we started it as the Vortex, and he's like, screw it, we can literally make this the tower. It fits perfectly. And that's how the tower came to be.
So that also, if that was your nightmare, that is also in a way the premise of the tower music video. So that music video
Yes.
is your nightmare. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I
Yeah.
love that.
Craziest nightmare I've ever had. I've never dealt with like sleep paralysis or ever, but again, I was rock bottom. I was in a really dark spot, and it was here. It was in my room. It was like, you need to make a change or something bad's gonna happen. And that whole nightmare really woke me up. But then again, like I turned it into such beautiful art. So I'm so grateful
Yeah.
for all my hardships and everything that I went through to make the tower, because the tower is personally, it's my favorite song to sing live. I just love it.
I love that song.
I know. I love that song too. I mean, I love all of your songs, but I love the tower.
I
Yeah.
have in my notes the serpent, the high priestess, and the tower. The trilogy of bangers is what I have in my notes. So
I
He
that's
love
really
that.
does. He calls it I'm looking at trilogy of bangers.
It's bangers.
but you know what? The sleep paralysis thing is no joke. I've experienced that a lot growing up. I thankfully haven't had it in recent years, but it is the most horrifying thing you can
It's
experience.
crazy. Like,
On
again, that was my only time I've ever dealt with it. And I don't know, I feel like maybe it comes out when you need to wake up and you need to make a
Mhm.
change in your life. And that's how I took my issue with the sleep paralysis and just tried to change it into a positive. But I've heard some horrifying stories that people have it like consistently, and that's just insane.
I had it pretty
Yeah.
consistently my senior year of high school. It was pretty
Oh,
severe.
wow.
Yeah, and but not so much like in my bed with it like on top of me. I literally saw it in the corner of uh my basement one night. I had fallen asleep down there when back in high school, me and my friends, we'd all have this little sleepover in the basement. And I saw something in the corner and it literally picked up my a piece of my drum set in my basement, set it down. Guitar falls off the guitar holder on my wall. All this shit runs out of the room. Like scariest moment of my entire life.
Lexi and I's faces right now. I'm like, so
I
you
know.
lived through a real life horror movie? Like, you
Yeah.
need to make that a movie.
Well, my high school band, we actually wrote a lot of songs about that specific
See?
moment. Yeah.
There you go.
It was pretty horrifying and it sticks with you for a while and then it just stopped happening, thankfully. But
Yeah. Well, thankfully, no one's picking up your drum set in your
yeah,
basement
I
anymore.
know, right? I'm like, God, put down my drum set. Come on. Like,
God,
that costs money. Put it down. Like,
gently. Put it down gently.
Yeah.
yeah.
I am thankful I have never experienced that, but I have heard, I mean, Chelsea Wolfe has an entire album about her sleep paralysis because she
Oh,
suffered with it for years.
wow.
And her album Abyss is all about entirely about her sleep paralysis, which is just crazy. I can imagine struggling with something like that for years. It's just so scary.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Um, but yeah, okay. So what one of our things we were chatting about is obviously we heard The Devil for the first time live. What can fans expect from a Lexi Layne show? Is there anything new that maybe you can share with us for fans to expect, or maybe we can see you play sometime soon?
So I don't have any shows lined up at the moment. I think as I grow as an artist, I'm being a lot pickier with what I take, and I'm trying to tell myself that that's okay because
Yes.
one of my favorite things to do is to perform live, especially like being a theater person. I just love to be on the stage. Um, I did get offered a tour recently that I sadly had to turn down. Just didn't work out. So there's no shows at the moment, but I know something good's going to come soon, so I'm being positive. But being at a Lexi Layne show, I feel like my style isn't just performing. Like I really love to involve my crowd. I love to speak to my crowd. I love to, point out things and like have one-on-one moments and eye contact with the fans and the audience. I feel like that's really engaging as a fan. Where they're like, "Oh, cool! Like she sang to me, she pointed at me." Like people like that, and I don't know if that's more of like an old style of performing, but it's definitely been something that I've taken on myself, and I really enjoy doing as a vocalist. And it's always a good time. There's just a lot of energy. It's a super fun time being at a Lexi Layne show, and it's kind of like you just have to see it for yourself. That's all I'm gonna say.
I was
It
having a
is.
lot of
Can
fun at the show.
can confirm. Yes, can confirm. It is a lot of fun, a lot of energy. And yeah, I like that. I do like that you connect with your fans because I feel like there's such an emphasis. And while I'm into it, it's not in any way throwing shade. But a lot of artists now are all about like the mystique and the mystery and like
Mm,
that like wall almost. And I do think it's important, like at the end of the day, you get to be an artist because of your fans.
mhm.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And I do think that your music is resonating with someone. And if, you see someone that's connecting with you, like that's a really cool thing to like connect with them and not always just have this like almost like you were saying earlier about the social media, like you're not just this figure,
yeah,
on stage, that there's like that personal connection because that's what art is.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
There's a connection there. So um, I do like that about you. And again, you're such an energy person. So I'm like, it doesn't surprise me that on stage you would be the same. You're a force of energy and you invite your fans to be a part of that energy as well. So yeah, I'm so excited. Everyone needs to listen to The Devil. I mean, they need to listen to every Lexi Layne song, but
The
they need
trilogy
to
of
listen
bangers and
the
then the
trilogy
devil.
of
There you
bangers
go. That's what it is. The trilogy of bangers.
that you can listen to right now, and then you're going to add The Devil to all of your playlists because it is such an awesome song, and we're just so excited for it. And I'm excited to see what you do next. I know there are things cooking that we are not going to announce yet, but even TPC has some things cooking with Lexi.
Yeah,
So
we're cooking.
follow
We're in the
along.
kitchen. We're in the kitchen.
We are in the kitchen.
Yes.
I like to say we're in a crock pot and we slow cooking up in there. And we're going to be the
Yes.
tastiest meal that you have
Yes.
ever had.
Yes. Yes.
Shouts out to our crockpot sponsor as well, too.
Betty Crocker.
Betty
Thank you.
Crocker.
Betty Crocker. Yes. 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 God.
Well, anything else you want to share before we sign off? Like what's coming next, and just anything you're looking forward to, or just any message you want to give to your listeners?
Yeah, well, again, The Devil, it's yours. Enjoy, stream it on all musical platforms. The first EP is dropping very, very soon. So look out for that, as well as with another music video. And yeah, I'm just back in the studio consistently. We're working on EP number 2, which I'm really, really excited about. Like Ariel said, there's some exciting things coming up between the Pretty Cult and Lexi Layne, which we won't announce yet. But a lot of stuff is in the works, and I'm just excited to share all the new music with you guys.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. This has been great.
It's been wonderful. We're all friends, so it's like we just hung out,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're
It
just
was
hanging
great.
out.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always fun chatting with you guys.
Of course.